know what you call the only Type 9C German U-boat left in existence? America's. It's not a joke. During World War II, the U.S. Navy did something so bold, so unprecedented, that even the Germans didn't believe it had happened. They stole an enemy submarine in the middle of the war, while it was sinking, and then they hauled it across the Atlantic, dragged it through the Bermuda Triangle, and eventually parked it in Chicago. But let's back up. In 1944, German U-boats were crippling U.S. supply lines in the Atlantic. Over 2,700 American ships had already been sunk, more than 14 million tons of war material gone. So the U.S. formed hunter-killer groups. Their job was simple: find U-boats, destroy them. But Captain Daniel Gallery had a different idea. What if, instead of just sinking one, they captured it? On June 4, 1944, that opportunity arrived. Task Force 22.3 had been tracking a U-boat off the coast of West Africa, U-505. The U.S. Guadalcanal launched its destroyer escorts and Wildcat fighters. When they finally located the sub, the attack began. Hedgehog mortars and depth charges rained down. The blasts rocked the U-boat, jammed its propeller, knocked out power, and blew open part of the hull. U-505 was forced to surface. Its crew scrambled out. As the Germans abandoned ship, they set scuttling charges designed to sink it. That should have been the end. But Gallery gave the order: send in the boarding party. 9 men in a motor launch. 1 officer, 8 sailors, including a photographer, because if they pulled this off, the world was going to need proof. Their job? Get on the sub. Keep it afloat. Don't die. Inside, the scene was chaos. The lights were out. Water was pouring in. Explosives were ticking. All the manuals were in German. But these men went to work. They defused the scuttling charges, restarted the bilge pumps, patched holes, and when the sub began sinking faster than they could bail, their officer made a brutal call. He sealed the hatch from the inside, locking them in with rising water. But they got lucky. The second boarding party arrived and secured a tow line. With no main engine power, the crew improvised. They unhooked the propeller shafts so the towed sub's spin would generate electricity. It worked. The lights came on. The pumps ran. They were alive. And U-505 was now an American asset. But there was one massive problem. They were 2,500 miles from the nearest safe harbor, and the Germans couldn't find out what happened. Why? Because of what was inside the sub: an active Enigma cipher machine, code books, water-soluble documents that hadn't dissolved. For the first time, the Allies had a treasure trove of German naval intelligence, straight from a live battlefield source. If the Nazis found out, they'd change everything. So the entire operation was classified. The U-boat was repainted, renamed US Nemo, Latin for no one. The German prisoners were secretly shipped to Louisiana and isolated from all other POWs. The U.S. even banned its own sailors from talking about it. For nearly a year, no one outside of high command knew the truth. When Germany finally surrendered in May 1945, the secrecy ended and the flexing began. U-505 was paraded up the East Coast to raise war bonds. First Philadelphia, then New York. Americans paid to tour the only captured Nazi sub of the war. Then came the question, what now? The Navy had one idea: use it for nuclear weapons tests. But Gallery, now an admiral, wasn't having it. He fought to save the sub and eventually brokered a deal with the city of Chicago. The Navy would donate U-505 to the Museum of Science and Industry if Chicago paid to move it. And they did. They brought the entire Sub-2 Germany's worth of metal into the most landlocked major city in America, by rail, by barge, by sheer willpower. It's still there today. U-505 now rests as a national landmark, not just because it's a rare artifact, but because it represents the one time in U.S. history when sailors captured an enemy warship on the open ocean and turned it into a secret weapon. All because a few men ignored the impossible and said, "We're taking it. Your turn." Was this the boldest naval operation of World War II? Or just the most American thing ever done?